All right, just before we get into those areas where government can actually look at in terms of generating more revenue, let's still talk about blocking these leakages. The federal government has started, of course, by asking that ministries and departments should stop taking their, revenue to the commercial banks and take it to the central bank. Now, aside from what the government has done, what else?
Another thing we need to do is that, CRR on public deposit, cash reserve ratio. That Sanusi patriotically moved to 75%. From 25 to 50 to 75 should be moved to 100%.
100%.
Yes. If we move it to 100%, then government shall no longer borrow its own money. Government shall no longer borrow its own. Then the banks will be forced to looking for revenue, working with the private sector. They are relying on that, on this. Two, you see, to block leakages, why is it that government cannot, first and foremost, budget properly? Because when you budget properly, you then increase your tax revenue. Government has to budget properly. But before I go to budgeting properly, VAT in Nigeria is one of the lowest in the world. Why shouldn't luxury goods attract 50%, if not 100%? People who want to have private jets must pay. That's what happens because the rich must pay to compensate for the needs of the poor. So they cannot have free ride. So why not expensive luxury goods attract 100%?
All right,
why not people who fly first class and business class pay 50% VAT?
We'll come to the details of those. Now, the federal government recently also gave a target to revenue-generating agencies, setting a target for them, to generate revenue or certain amount of revenue yearly. Now, some organized private sector think this is, this is just not, this is too harsh a policy to make, that target, giving them the target in the sense that it's going to put pressure on them, and also they put pressure on the business community. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
A big corporation, when it hires you, gives you a target. Is it because you are here? If the owner of this place said that this is amount I want us to make in a year, if you can't make it, start looking for another job. You see, target does not necessarily mean you must achieve it, but it keeps you up and doing. You understand? Because it is easy to sleep, but when you know that you must meet certain targets, and the good thing about targets in countries like the United States, that you meet target, you get a percentage of it. If maybe the target is 100 billion, and it means that you are going to get 5 billion, that's the staff. Everybody work hard. But in our own case, that is not the case. So for me, it is good. For me, it is good because if you cannot achieve it, it means that you're incompetent. The government will hire another person. Because let's run this country like a business. Let's run our economy like a business. And that's what it's supposed to be.
Now, but don't you think that would lead some of these agencies taxing businesses unnecessarily?
No, because it can go to court. There will be a court of arbitration. There will be a court that, look, when they say tax, there was a time I had an office somewhere in Abuja, and the 85 people sent me 1.something million. They are saying for environmental, and I told them, maybe you don't even know who you are sending this, because my office is one of the offices here. They are, and the building itself pays environmental. And when I wrote that, they accepted and they cancelled it. So it does not mean that when a bill is sent to you, you pay. You can look at it. But you see, my sister, the problem in this country, we want to have our cake and eat it. We cannot have our cake and eat it. There must be a tremendous effort to sacrifice by the citizens in order to grow this country out of poverty. And we cannot grow it by not being responsible. I'm ready to pay my tax. In fact, I want to pay more. But I want to see, I was driving from airport to Lagos, to this place, and I saw people sweeping the streets of Lagos. And my wife was saying, what a wonderful thing. I said, honey, we can pay. If I live in Lagos, I will pay because I have seen how the money is used. The problem in this country is that our people felt that when they pay this tax, it goes into private wallets and they use it for throwing parties and things like that.
That's another challenge there for the government, for them to begin now. How can they begin now to gain the confidence of the people that, look, when you pay your taxes, we're going to use them adequately to provide you with those basic infrastructure, basic needs.
That's when we need transparency, when we need external forensic auditors. That's why the two-party system works, because the opposition party can say that this party is fraudulent, this party is not doing very well. That is where accountability and things come in. But you see, let me not go there, because then we waste our time talking another thing. There's an issue I want to bring up here. Because right now, so many agencies, so many governments cannot pay salaries this year. And I want to show how we can pay salaries. In 1929, there was a Great Depression. And so many European countries were in crisis, including the United States. Then there came a man called Marian Eccles, a secondary school graduate. He never went to university, but he owns a small family bank. And during that Great Depression, so many banks went bankrupt. His bank never went bankrupt. And when he was being approached, he said there's an idea he has, that, you see, the way you present your organization is the way people perceive it. And also he came up with the concept of government must print enough money in order to finance its obligations. Because government is not an individual. Government is a sovereign. As a result, Roosevelt hired him in 1933. And they said, because by then, America was one of the countries in the world running a gold standard, which means you cannot print more currency than the gold you have in the vault. He debunked that. He said, let's exit gold standard and print as much dollar we need in order to make all the companies liquid.
So are you advocating that the government should print more money?
Of course.
But
that is the secret. No, let me tell you. It is the secret. It's a secret. That's what I want to debunk here. Yeah. If America could spend itself out of the Great Depression, what did America do? As a result, Roosevelt hired him in 1933, as soon as Roosevelt became president. And America flooded the system with the liquidity. I will explain to you how it works, because when he was even saying it, economists were saying, wow, this is a taboo. But it eventually worked. Let me tell you how it works in Nigeria. First and foremost, the budget we are making today is based on 160 naira to a dollar. Is it not true? Why? Why should we do that? Why can't we say 250 by the value naira, 250 naira to a dollar? If we do that, the pressure on naira now will be reduced. If we do that, we can do that, because naira is our currency. This is a naira-based economy. It's not a dollar-based economy. The day we exit dollar and base our economy on naira and block the borders, when you are bringing in goods into this country, you pay the right import duty and make it difficult for people to access dollar. Because in 1961, the South Korea made it impossible for anybody to access dollar unless you are using it for importation of plants and equipment and industrial raw materials. Why should anybody goes access the dollar? That dollar is supposed to be for the development of this country, for infrastructure development in this country. So by the time we block anybody having access to dollar, then you go and import with your own dollar. You know what will happen? When you come, we tell you to pay the right duty. If you import shoes from China, we don't care where you get your foreign exchange. It can be Chinese. When you come, we tell you how much that pair of shoes costs. We multiply it and ask you to pay 100%.
And pay it in naira?
And pay it, yes, you pay it in naira now. Yes. Then foreign portfolio investors invest in Nigeria. We know that they cannot just come into speculative investment. If you come and invest, minimum of 1 year before you exit the economy. So if there's crisis, you are stuck. Because we have to do that. Let me tell you what we are going to do if we do that. If we move naira to 250, because they will devalue it. Remember, in October, I was telling you people that naira will be devalued. But they moved it from 155 to 160, 65. But of course, that's not devaluation, because the pressure on the scarce dollar we have will continue. So we must move naira to.
So you're saying you're advocating for more devaluation?
Of course, it's going to be devalued. Let me tell you.
But the one you've done already,
Japanese economy, Japan yen is about 160, 165 per dollar. Let me tell you, as soon as we devalue and this economy picks up, we can revalue. The economy does, it fluctuates. It moves based on productivity of a country. So if we do that, we can generate from 2.2 million barrels of oil, multiply by 300, multiply by 40, because I want the benchmark to be 40. This is 65 and 50 will not work. We peg it at 40. per dollar, per barrel. Well, and then we multiply by 360, just 365 days, and multiply by that 250 naira per dollar. And we get not less than 8 trillion. If federal government takes its own 52%, the federal government is making 4.18 trillion. That we pay, and the states will pay. Look, the only problem is you say a run on naira. You can't have a run on naira because you cannot bring in the goods. The only why there's a run on naira because of massive importation. But when you want import, nobody stops you from importing. But you go and source a dollar anywhere. But when you come, you pay the right duty.
All right, Mr. Enwegbara, just hold your thoughts there. When we come back, we will continue with that conversation. Well, I understand what you're trying to say, but then when putting up some of these policies, you also have to consider the environment we operate. Well, we'll come back to that, Mr. Enwegbara. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue with that conversation. We're actually looking at ways government can actually increase its internally generated revenue. Just stay with us.